Good morning, friends. It's Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. I was looking at the calendar and I was realizing that it's been it'll be 2 years next week that we have entered this pandemic. You know, at least locally, this is the date. March 12th, I think it is. We actually had our first lockdown. Like a lot of people, it impacted me quite greatly. All my classes stopped, all my shows stopped. It was pretty nerve-wracking at the time. And so a lot has happened since that day, and so I thought I would sort of reflect back on what has happened. And actually, to my surprise, a lot of good has come out of this. So I thought what I would do is I would go through some of the paintings that I have done, and I have done quite a few. Just to give you an idea, this is, wait a minute. This is the pile of paintings that I have done. This is some of them, not all of them. I have quite a few that I have done. I have a lot of framing in my future, I think. So, not that I'm going to frame every one of these, of course, but some of them I will, and I need a sale. So I guess we'll have to watch for that coming up. I'm definitely going to have a sale. I have quite a pile. Now, I was very fortunate that when the pandemic started, I had just stocked up on all of my watercolor paper. Some of my other supplies, not so much, but my watercolor paper, I had plenty, thank goodness. It was able to keep me going. But who was I painting for at the beginning of the pandemic, right? Just 1 second. Just bear with me 1 second. I just realized my microphone's like way over there. I'm going to bring it out. It's no good if you can't hear me today. There we go. So, let's take a look here. And as I go through some of this work that I've done, I'm going to talk about kind of the story of my COVID journey and how it's impacted me. First, I'm going to say good morning to everybody who's just arriving. Thank you so much for joining. We've got people from all over. Yeah. Washington, New York, Indiana, Waterloo, Sarnia. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining. All right, so let's just switch over here to this. This is these are not necessarily in sequence. They're just sort of stacked by size. So they're not in sequence, but I will go through these and just to give you a quick overall. Some of these have been classes. Some of these have been my Wednesday demos. Some of these I did on Facebook, and some of them have been done, in-person classes since the pandemic. But, okay, so March 12th happened, and we have, well, let me turn it this way. We have an immediate lockdown, right? So, everything's closed, can't sell anything, can't teach anywhere. What am I going to do? Well, at first I enjoyed a little bit of time off. But then as it appeared that the pandemic was indeed going to last a little more than 2 weeks, a little bit of panic started setting in. So what I did was I could see that some people were transitioning to online. I thought, I better get on this bandwagon or I'm going to be left in the dust. So I took that first initial time to start educating myself. So thank goodness for YouTube. And here we are on YouTube, still at it, but thank goodness for YouTube. You can learn anything on YouTube. And I started learning how to use, or to go online. I started learning how to, market. I was learning how to, I had to buy equipment. Well, that was a challenge, buying equipment at the beginning of the pandemic. And because everybody was scrambling, but I did manage to get some eventually. I started off with my not so great, my older stuff, right? So not very great quality. I had to learn how to use Zoom. I started off practicing, basically. But you can't practice Zoom, and you can't practice Facebook Live, and you can't practice YouTube Live without going live, right? So you need an audience, and that was a little bit of a challenge. So what I did was I started offering Wednesday free demos. So you guys helped me practice. And my first ones were a little awkward. I was a little bit shy talking to a camera and all this kind of stuff. And it does take a while to get used to that. And of course I had to play with lighting. I had to play with camera angles and using multiple cameras. And then I had to learn software that let me use all of those together, like you see me right now up in the corner, and you see, my tabletop and so on. And I can also show another camera with my palette, and I can, it took me a while to learn how to do all of that. Meanwhile, I also started, I didn't want to lose connection to people. So I was offering, to some of my groups that, some of my in-person people, I was, having Zoom get-togethers. That was helping me learn Zoom. And then I offered these Wednesday free demos, and it kept me painting, it kept me connected to people, and so on. I also started watching what other people were doing, right? So I began watching things like Eric Rhodes, who had a noon hour broadcast daily talking about marketing, because that was of interest to me, right? So I started doing that. And he did that for the first while, and I learned quite a bit about marketing. And then I guess for him, it started to, he was running out of material. He was wearing down because this pandemic, let's face it, was dragging on. So he started introducing guest artists, and this worked out great. He was able to kind of sit back and be host instead of, putting on the whole show himself. And so he started having these guests, but every once in a while I noticed, he had to apologize because his guest had power failure, or got sick, or had a family emergency, and his live guest wasn't available. So I sent him a note and I said, hey Eric, if you ever need a backup, just I've got stuff I can demonstrate, so just give me a call. Well, it wasn't a week and I got a call. So I was a guest on his program, and his following was getting big. And I started joining some of the online conventions that he shifted to online. He produces a lot of conventions, like in-person conventions, prior to the pandemic, and then shifted over to online after that. So I was a guest. I was taking part in some of these online programs as well, and I also was interested in taking part in this and everything. So I was a guest. And then at the end of the show, or that guest appearance that I did, he spoke to me afterwards and said that he liked how I taught. He said that I explained things well, and that he was interested in having me do a video. Well, in 2 weeks' time, I'm heading to Texas to do just that. So, well, actually, maybe it's not even 2 weeks yet. Yeah, it's a little over a week. A little over a week. I'm heading to Texas. So I'll be doing that. And a lot of these ones I'm showing you here these are just demonstrations that I've been doing during my Wednesday morning demos. Now, you may have missed some of these if you don't follow me on Facebook. So if you want to find those videos, because I haven't uploaded them to YouTube, but if you wanted to find some of those, go to my Facebook page. It's Shelley Pryor Fine Art, and on my page you can click videos, and you'll find some of these, right? So I was doing an assortment of topics, creating glow, painting eyes, painting mouths, and so on. And I also started, because a lot of groups were also transitioning to online and everything, I was becoming, I was getting some invitations to guest teach for groups. What software did I have to learn? And so thank you so much. I was nervous, yes. I was nervous at first. I guess because it popped up so fast, and it was kind of like I hadn't mentally prepared. But yeah, the software I've had to learn. Well, I had to learn Zoom. I have had to learn the software that allows me to put everything together, and that one's called OBS. OBS. And you can look that one up. It's basically a free program, actually, for anybody who's interested. It's a free program, and you can download the software, and it's very versatile. It allows me to present to you with all these multiple things, with writing like my name here, like my website there, and that sort of thing. So it's very helpful. I've done some glass demos, all kinds of different things. Some of you may have seen this one last week. As I said, these are not necessarily in order of date, but my pile grows and grows. And some are from in-person classes, so we've got some like this. And once I started getting a little bit more comfortable with online and offering free, then I thought, okay, well, then I can start, organizing my own teaching, because it didn't look like I was going to be returning to teaching anytime soon. And I had no other source of income other than what the government was handing out to me, and I didn't really want to be doing that for that indefinitely. So, and it was going to come to an end anyway. So I decided to transition online, and I added Zoom workshops, which I have been doing since August, I think, August of 2020. I launched my online, and now my library of online Zoom workshops is quite, I don't know how many I have now, but it's a lot. I've got probably, well, how many weeks are there, right? So I do one a week, and that adds up. And that is this one's a little different. This is a pour that I did. And this involves a lot of masking and pouring on really wet paint to create this effect. And a lot of my workshops actually are theme-based. So this was one that I did based on birds. So I did some watercolor birds. And this was my Valentine presentation, where I created the look of foil and chocolate. This one was a presentation for, I believe this was for the International Watercolor Society, I think. It was an anniversary of World Watercolor Day, maybe. And so yeah, that was nearing Christmas time, so I picked something sort of Christmassy. And this was a study I did with one of my workshops, or one of my regular classes. The theme was things that are shiny, and so this was reflections and that type of thing. Another one from that series, which is, I need to turn my pile around, it's all upside down. Creating the reflections of glass and that sort of thing. So ask away your questions. You know, if you have questions about any of these paintings, or if you have any questions about, you know, how I managed through COVID. I know you've all felt the funk of being locked down in a pandemic. So, and it was hard for me to get myself motivated too, but learning something new was quite invigorating, because, you know, you just, learning something new always sort of ignites your creativity. And yeah, that's my art show from home. Exactly right. Okay, this was another class series that I had done, where it was we were focusing on things that are old. So this fits in, definitely a rusty old window and all of that. This was a Christmas time presentation that I did on YouTube. You may have caught that. And some of these, you know, I'll be talking about these, but if you look in my live videos, then you'll probably find some of these. This was a two-part. I did the bells and the belt 1 week, and then I did the table and the last minute touches in the second week. You know, there's only so much you can get done in that hour. This was creating icicles. So that was one of the ones I did. An iceberg. You know, creating that luminosity of that iceberg with a storm in behind. And this one was winter theme. No, this was a Wednesday presentation too, I think. So many. You know, when you have all these photos, because I have quite a collection of, you know, things to do during COVID, or during my retirement, right? I'm going to paint all these things. We all have that kind of idea or that fantasy in our heads. Well, COVID was a good way to get me going on that one. And, you know, painting a little looser here, trying to get this oncoming storm effect. Can't remember what class that was for. This one I think was online. I was showing how to create the look of trees using salt. Oh, thank you. The Blooming Watercolors workshop. Yes, the Blooming Watercolors workshop. Well, it's actually, Blooming Watercolors is not a workshop. It's actually a series. It's going to be, I think 6 or 8 weeks. I can't remember how many, but it's basically going to take place through it'll be online, but it's through the Royal Botanical Gardens, where I normally teach in person, but I have been doing online workshops and classes for them for the past 2 years. So, you know, you can't, well, actually I did do some at when we first had the lockdown and everything was closed, and right after that we opened up again, and I did go back to the classroom, and we had to do it. I had to be really creative about it, right? So when you return to class, all the safety measures, you have to wash everything, you have to wear your mask, you have to keep your distance, all, you know, the usual, you know it all. And what I had to do was take my camera equipment and project it for them from the front of the class. And then if they had if they had something that they were working on, they had to bring it up to the front, put it on an easel. We stood 6 feet apart, and I used a laser pointer on their painting and talked to them one-on-one about their painting. You really had to be creative about how you work in person during a pandemic. Things are relaxing more. We here in Ontario, we are just starting to ease up a lot of the restrictions, the capacity limits and all of those sorts of things. Oh, thanks. Thank you very much, Bobby. Yeah, you know what? I'm glad it brought some people, it took the gloom out of COVID for some of you, because it did for me too. I found that it just goes to show you how therapeutic painting can be. So I did a series with skies. So here's a couple of sunsets and more skies. I guess I grouped all these together. This was one of my Facebook demos. Which way does it go? It goes this way. Yeah, so this was one of, no, it goes this way. I should put my signature is on it so I know which way. But this was one of my earlier Facebook demos, and it was slower. I mean, you can tell by the amount of detail. It took a little while to do this one. So this was a 2-part as well. And I'm just reading back some of the questions here. Oh yes, to recap about the blooming watercolors, that's going to be online. It's a series, and it will be Floral, of course, because it is the Royal Botanical Gardens. They are the host. You register through them, not me. Okay, so my Zoom workshops that I do on Fridays, you can register through me. All my other venues and workshops that I do, and by the way, my website is updated, I believe, and so you can see what I've got coming up. I've got quite a bit coming up. I did another demo on doing lace, and I can't remember if that was a Wednesday. I think it was a Wednesday demo, but I'm not sure. It may have been in a class. This one for sure was a Wednesday demo. This was hanging laundry. Done much looser. Sometimes how loose I go depends on the amount of time in which I have to paint. Oh, thanks, Diane. I'm glad you like the icicles. This was, I believe, part of my glass painting workshop, or series that I was doing with RBG, I think. So I can't even remember now. It's 2 years has gone by and it's been a blur. More birds, more skies, storms. This was a different technique that I was showing to show mist. This was a Wednesday. I believe this is on YouTube in my live stream. And I was illustrating how to do reflections in bubbles with an out of focus background here. And this was a Zoom workshop. As we get to the larger sizes out, you'll see more of my Zoom workshops that I have offered. Sometimes, when you're seeing a little thumbnail, you don't see the picture as big. So this is a chance for you to see some of the workshops that I have. So this one is one that I have available. It's got a combination of technique here. It's got some salt, definitely some realism and that sort of thing. But these two cute little boys that were reading a book together or something. This was an online demo again, one of my freebies. This was not sure if it was YouTube, if I had transitioned over to YouTube from Facebook, or if this was done on Facebook. I can't remember. This was one of my most popular ones, in fact, doing this mason jar. This one, again, this was my the theme of old that I did, where we created, a lot of rust and that's wood grain and that sort of thing, moss, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, painting is definitely good therapy. I couldn't agree more. And some people were just bored out of their minds, and I'm like, oh, you should pick up a paintbrush. You should just pick up a paintbrush, and everything will be fine. This was a little cat demo that I had done, a little tuxedo cat that I had seen when I was in a shop in Nova Scotia. And this was another demo that I had done. It was a really creating the softness, and it was a very busy reference picture that I had, actually, but I made it look like it was in sun and very soft looking. So you can look up that one. This one, I don't think I did this one. This one might not be a pandemic painting. Let's throw that one away. This one definitely was. I can separate this. This one was fun. This was a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. I had done this one. This was a free Wednesday demo. A lot of these are the Wednesdays, the live demonstrations. This was another in the bird series that I had done. And doing, I think I was doing, I don't know if I did a nocturnal series or not, but this is one of the ones that I had done with a group from the Dundas Valley School of Art. And it was, again, I was online teaching for that one. And this is some fabrics. It was some bolts of fabric just piled together, different textures, right? We have velvet, we have cotton. So we had that type of thing. I had one series that I did for Oakville Art Society, which was incorporating people, or how to paint people and figures in your watercolors. 3-day class in 2023 that looks so interesting. Oh yes, thank you. This was one with, I can't remember where I did this one. It was an in-person, no, it was online, and I can't remember. You know what? I need to write on the backs of these. Actually, I can look it up by when I post it, because I've posted most of my stuff, so I'll know when and the day and everything, and then I'll know which one I painted. Now, this one was fun. This one, these are some ladies that were at the Royal Botanical Gardens. I used to teach some plein air painting at the Royal Botanical Gardens, and these ladies happened to be passing by, and I loved their blue printed dresses and their bonnets, and so I just isolated them. It was actually a bigger group than this, but I just isolated these three and incorporated them, and I loved, doing all the texture and stuff in their dresses and the feeling of light. It was such a fun one to do. That I think was in my figures, but I'm not sure. This was another Wednesday demonstration where I was really illustrating some textures, and so a bit of dry brushing, some washes, that sort of thing. Textures, that was one that I had done with Oakville Art Society, and Oakville Art Society has they're kind of like the city next door for me, and I teach there in person actually right now. So for anybody who's looking for in person, that is one place you can check out, Oakville Art Society. And I had done a series on textures, so I wanted to show painting different textures, and we had the hat, and we had the sunglasses and the jeans to really make them look like jeans. we kind of went all in on this one and really got even the weave of the fabric showing here. If I zoom in, you can actually see the weave in the fabric. So that was a lot of fun to do that. And this was another Wednesday morning demo where I had done glass, showing some glass that was filled with bubbles and how to approach doing something like that. More glass. You'll see lots of glass. Everybody loves glass. This is one of my 101 perfume bottles that I have. I actually built shelves just to put them on. I have so many. I'll never run out of reference material if I stick with glass. I have a little ceramic horse that I did on one of my Wednesday morning free demos. I guess I do most of my Wednesday demos on 8x10, and I do my classes on quarter sheet. It seems, anyway, that's the way I've been doing it. This was another study in painting crystal. And in this particular demo, if you care to look it up, I'm actually discussing how to set it up and photograph it so that you can paint it. Good morning, Chris. Hi, Patricia. Diane. Oh my gosh, there's so many here. This was. Oh, I don't think this was a pandemic painting. I think this might have been before. Let's get rid of that one too. Toss that one aside. This was part of the bird series that I had done with Oakville classes, and this was a fun one. I actually took this piece of paper and I stained it with tea. So I steeped some good strong tea, let it cool down, soaked the paper and stretched it, and that's what I painted on. And it gives this really sort of old photo or old print feeling to this image. So I painted it mostly with sepia, and the extra darks I added a little bit of Payne's gray to those, but this was fun, this one. I was showing how to do this type of fur where you have like sort of light and dark all together. And that obviously would have been an Easter theme, I'm sure it was. This was another in my bird series. We completely changed this reference and incorporated a night sky to, rather than the cage that this owl was in. So, yeah, shells. Shells are always fun. They're a little bit shiny. They have lots of different textures. They have form. That was one of my other Wednesday morning demonstrations. Fabrics. This was in the textures. No, actually, the whole series. Now that I think of it, that whole class was all about fabrics, because how many different types of fabric are there, from burlap to denim to silk? There's all kinds of things, patterns. There's all kinds of things. This was a Wednesday morning demo that I had done that was shiny. Oh, thank you. Awesome. Okay, this is a rose study. This was a rose that was facing downward, and I did a little bit of negative painting on here, a little bit of salt. It was a little bit of everything, trying to get the soft glow inside of the rose. This may be a Wednesday morning demo. You'll have to look that one up. I'm not sure. This is another one where we were incorporating people into our image, into our reference. Got to learn how to simplify if you're doing a complicated subject, right? This is skies. Okay, so we clouds, trying to get this cumulus cloud against and the stormy part of this, and then this little patch of blue up here at the top. Really getting the whole range of sky types here. This actually, I took this photo right through, I took the reference photo, not this painting, but I took the reference image for this painting just through my kitchen window. And this was either a Wednesday morning or a part of the bird theme that I had done with Oakville. And this was definitely a Wednesday morning. I had done mushrooms. So I had gone for a hike because, you know, everything's closed. You got to do something. So went out for a hike, took lots of pictures of mushrooms and brought it home and did that one Wednesday morning. I always have fun trying to think of what to do. what's going to be different for you guys. This was the one that I had done with Eric. That when I had the guest spot with Eric Rhodes. So I was illustrating how to do this really dark background to create the look of the silver. I didn't get too far. It was only an hour, and there was lots of questions and you know, kind of start stop as I was going along, plus the dry time, and I didn't get that far with it, but I did finish this up and post this. So this is that painting. I had illustrated something for a group and ended up doing it in series. Now this is the way I should have done Eric's, but now I know better. Did it in stages so that, you know, the wet stuff, once it dries, you can see the next stage, and then finally the detail. And I was creating this look of transparent glass, this perfume bottle. This I believe was with my Wednesday group, my Wednesday afternoon group, not my free demos, but my Wednesday afternoon group with RBG. And you know, I was showing how to get all these little hairy type things on this poppy. Get a nice loose background and all that. More skies. You can never get tired of skies. They're always different. And so really trying to create the perspective in skies and the mood. This one's definitely one that's a little looser. This was a Wednesday morning that I had done, and it's definitely not as detailed as, say, my glass paintings, but the object of this one was to show you don't have to do extreme detail to get a nice painting out of it. And you know, as long as you have a good strong composition and you know, you render it close enough, then you know, you can work with the values and brush strokes and just get the impression of what it is. Let the viewer do some work. This was a Zoom workshop that I had done, painting glass, 3 chess pieces. Definitely, they're clear, just clear pieces of glass, but you know, there was a lot of light coming in and it really warmed it up. Bright sunshine can often be warm. This was in my figures workshop, and this one was a little bit different. This one, I painted all the values first with cerulean blue, just like a black and white, but cerulean blue and white. So I painted everything, and then I painted in my pinks, or it might have been my yellows next, I can't remember. I think it was my yellows next, and then I did my pinks, all layered on top of each other. And that just goes to show you that with watercolor, you know, colors laying on top of other colors can create new colors, working very much the way your printer works, right? Your printer has 4 inks. It has yellow, red, and blue, and then black, right? So this was built up almost like a printer. We do one layer, then we do the next layer, and we do the next layer, and I created all of the color in here with 3 colors. And so that was an interesting process. Took a lot of thinking to get through that one, but it was something unique. This was another Wednesday morning demo. I have my apple blossoms. Another one showing soft skin tones. I was illustrating this little dude who was sitting on his dad's shoulders at a fair, and I just caught him as he turned his head, and it was so cute. Actually, I got them both together, but I cropped it down to this little boy's face. It was cute. And I have a water lily. This is from RBG. When I say RBG, that's Royal Botanical Gardens, by the way. More skies. And some of you will remember, this is probably one of my most popular Wednesday demos that I had done. I believe this was 2-part, and but you know, 2 parts I can offer a greater level of realism. So this was a 2-part, and you know, I got all these textures, these 2 Christmas ornaments. Dandelions, right? Trying to get this bokeh, this background effect is called bokeh. So I was illustrating that and the softness of these very fluffy dandelions, which we will see soon, I think. Won't be too long now. Oh, thanks, Chris. All right, so this is ice, you know, ice-coated berries. I used some salt and a couple of techniques in here. I think I didn't use masking on this. I just painted around stuff. Don't think I used masking on that one. Creating the look of feathers. Okay, so the look of feathers to keep, you know, painting white on white. Subtle, right? The darker feathers, more obvious, but painting white on white, you just have to look at shadows and let the viewer figure out the rest. And we do, right? We know, because it's a familiar thing. You can tell what it is. This was a quick one that I had done, very loosely painted, just, you know, getting the texture of his hair and all of that. So this was a fun one. Okay, so now we're going to start getting into some of my Zoom workshops. This was one that I had done. Now these ones are going to get a little bit more polished looking, because you know, a Zoom workshop is like several hours long, whereas my Wednesday demos are more quick kind of thing. So this is a couple of chairs that were in Newfoundland, and obviously low tide. You can see all the algae, I guess it is, in the water. This one was just last week. I had done this tropical sunset, and it's yeah, nice and inviting, right? I'd like to be there right now. Oh, how do you know? Okay, this is a very good question. Rushika is saying, I noticed some of my in-person or online classes are for intermediate artists. How does one graduate or know that they have moved from beginner to intermediate level? Well, I know that at least Oakville Art Society has a description about, you know, what you do. Sometimes intermediate level, when I'm teaching it, will be basically, I do teach a lot of basics, even to intermediates, because review never hurts, right? It just means for me that the class is going to go a little bit faster. I do try to gauge the skill level. Once we get a week or two under our belts with a week long, or with like a 8-week series or something like that, I can have a better handle on how advanced or or like how fast I need to go. You know, sometimes people are surprise me and they're like, you know, quite proficient in watercolor, and you know, then I can give them more challenges. So I usually start off kind of a walkthrough, like I do with my Friday Zooms. And so what I mean by walkthrough is that, you know, I will tell you the colors, I will give you a line drawing, I will we will work on the same step at the same time, and so on. When I go to a more advanced level, I will invite people to choose their own reference pictures, because by then you have an idea what to look for. How do you get to the intermediate level? Do a lot of painting on your own, watch lots of videos, join groups, you know, go all in and push yourself to practice more, because honestly, my feeling is that you're going to learn a lot more just painting than watching. I'm saying as you're watching this, but you will learn a lot just by actually doing. If you are not sure if you are at a level, you should be comfortable with washes. Okay, if you're joining an intermediate level, you should know how to do, for example, a graded wash. You know, to elevate your paper and get a bead of, you should understand that these are basics, right? A bead of paint that can run down the paper. How to work wet and wet. How to work wet on dry. How to mix colors, like how to, a little bit of, like you don't have to know how to mix everything, but you should know some basics on mixing, and how to get two colors to blend together. And you can just take scraps of paper to do that with. You don't even have to do it in a painting. Just practice those techniques. Once you have a fairly good understanding of how the paint feels in your hand, you know, or under your brush, you should be able to move ahead to a more intermediate level. If you use cheap quality materials, you're probably going to want to upgrade. Yeah, thank you, Deborah. Yeah, so I actually try to keep them under an hour, but I go long sometimes. Hope you don't mind. Okay, so this was with my Wednesday group last week. Actually, I had done Wednesday afternoon group. This was a 2-week process, and the class is a couple of hours long. So you know, we spent a bit of time on that one. This is another one of my Zoom workshops that I have available. That's on my website. This is another one, very, very popular one, this one. This is a little kitten that I did, and I show you how to do these fine whiskers, and it's not with white paint. You know, how to make your background soft and the fur soft, and all that stuff. This is in my current series, actually, that I'm doing with Oakville Art Society, and I have, you know, we're doing around the world, and so this was a doorway that I had seen in near Hilton Head, and we did kind of a vignette look on this one, so it's kind of fades off at the sides, but you know, a little bit of architecture. You know, definitely some detail. We did some editing on that one too, changing a few elements. This is one of my workshops that I did, one of my Zoom workshops. This was a glass paperweight apple that I have. My camera's not angled right, but it's right over there in the window. But yeah, we got all this swirling and that contrast. Fun stuff. This was another of my Zoom workshops. This was, let me zoom out a little bit so you can see it, the whole thing. Okay, this was an old tractor that I'd come across, and this was kind of like the first snowfall of the season because there's still leaves on the trees. This is showing a fun way to do, well, the main focus of this one was getting these background trees in here, but you know, creating the illusion of these shadows and the reflection in the water, that type of thing. This is one of my Friday Zoom workshops, and this was a couple of weeks ago that I did this one. she upgraded to Arches, and it changed how she painted. And yes, you will find it, you know, whenever you change papers, you know, whether it's to Arches or any other paper, you change papers, it's going to change how you paint. Whoops, I'm trying to zoom in a little bit here. This was another one of my workshops I did a couple of weeks ago. Love this little guy. He's sitting on a lily pad in a pool of water, and I love, you know, the feeling of these reflections here in the water, and he's kind of cute. So it looks like his feet are underwater, but his back is not. Oh, and this one there's a long story here, but I just showed this painting, right? But here it is beside me. I actually had to paint this twice because I goofed, and I didn't have my sound on when I recorded it, so I had to paint it again. So, you know, it's a learning curve for me too, right? Learning all this text stuff. This is one that I did with my Shiny series that I did with Royal Botanical Gardens. Now, for those of you that like all my glass and my and that type of thing, I'm going to be doing and Jane, you're here. I don't know, maybe if you can tell me if it's full or not, but I'm doing another spring session of painting glass and other shiny things like metal and that type of thing this coming spring, like starting in April. So that is actually an in-person. So for those of you in India and England and stuff, it's probably not going to work for you. But if you're local to me or near Oakville, Ontario, you know, you can catch me there. All right, this was part of my winter themed series in Oakville, and we are working on snow and winter. So that's one from that. This is one I did with Royal Botanical Gardens. Similar theme, right? We have winter. I think I did that with RBG. This was my painting olds. No, this was a Friday Zoom workshop. That's what this is. Why cold press versus hot press regarding derails. Okay, cold press paper. For those of you wondering what the difference is, cold press means that when they take the pulp out of the form and they mold it, they put it into a press to, you know, to squeeze out the excess moisture. And when the press is cold, thanks, Jane. Jane has mentioned that there is still spaces in my glass workshop for the afternoon for the spring session. I believe my morning session is sold out though. Anyway, the cold press means that, you know, they put this felt pad on it to squeeze out the excess moisture, and it has a little texture on it, the foam. And if they don't press it hard or the press is cold, then you get a little bit more texture to your paper. Hot press means, yeah, it's basically like ironed, right? And so it gets a lot smoother. The fibers get more compressed. And the benefits of hot press mean that you can do detail. Like, so some people will do ink and wash, and a hot press can be great for that, because you can get really nice fine detail with ink and a pen on a hot press paper. If you're doing something very very highly detailed, hot press is a good choice for that. I like cold press because it's kind of the middle of the road. It kind of does, you know, you can get quite a lot of detail, but it also does washes really well, because I find hot press does not do washes well because the paint kind of sits on top instead of sort of melting into the paper. It kind of sits on top, so it doesn't end up as smooth. Then there is rough press, and rough press is like it sounds. It has a lot more texture. This is one of my Friday Zoom workshops that I had done recently. This is a scene from Nova Scotia, this boat here. This is another Friday Zoom workshop that I did, and it is snow or sun shining through trees on a snowy day by a lake, as you can see. This was Wednesday afternoon watercolor, where I was showing water. I think that's what that was from. And again, a different style, right? So sometimes, because I'm a teacher, it's not that this is my style, but I want to show other people how to paint in a different style. I don't want to make a bunch of clones. Like I would like people to express themselves individually, you know, and for some people that tight, you know, precision detail isn't their cup of tea. So I want to show that you can still get a nice, interesting painting out of something without using a lot of masking fluid, without using rulers, without, you know, making everything so crazy detailed. You can loosen things up and still have fun and have a nice painting in the end. This was another Zoom workshop where I was really trying to get the illusion of the that cold, icy morning. And it was very cold. There was a lot of mist coming off of the lake, and there was actual frost on all of these grasses, which is why they have that sort of milky look to them. And from winter to beach, we have some really nice waves and foam. This was a challenge here, is creating the look of the foam and the splash and capturing it sort of mid-splash. This was sort of a pre-COVID holiday I had gone on. This was a demonstration that I did for, I think it was East Central Art Association, yes. Central Ontario Art Association. It's a long name. So I was doing that. It was just kind of a quick demo, really showing kind of the textures and how I go about creating a scene with some depth. And here is another Zoom workshop, similar to the other shell and lace that I had done, but this one's a little larger, maybe a little bit more fussing with it. And florals. Looking forward to seeing some florals soon. I will be doing the blooming watercolors. The theme will be florals for that, of course. And so this was one, although this one I had done in Oakville, so that shows that. And my daughter had a COVID wedding, so this was last summer. Things were starting to let up, the restrictions were letting up enough that she was able to have a small wedding, and so we had 50 people, and I did a series of 4 watercolors, and I printed them into cards. So I've taken these and printed them into cards, and each package has 4 of these in there, and that's what all the guests had received as you know, their wedding favor. So just some note cards that I had done. This way, and I'm upside down again, it looks like. So these are some florals. Let me take my pile and flip it upside down. Probably get halfway through and have to flip it again, but this was one of my Zoom workshops that I did a little while ago. And another Zoom workshop. Beautiful sumac leaves. And not your typical leaves. This was like a fern type of leaf. And it was autumn, like they were turning color, so it was getting really nice autumn color to this, but I was creating all this sort of overlapping leaf effect here. This, I think this was, I can't remember. I think this might be one of my Zoom workshops. This was one that I had done for Dundas Valley School of Art, and we threw some texture in there and did some real detail in the middle of this one, made this one a little fuzzier. I've got all my florals grouped together, it seems. Peony. This was one of my Zoom workshops, and it goes from high detail to softness on the edges. Really trying to capture that glow, and it's neat that they have that luminous feeling about them, these types. These paintings that I'm showing right now, these ones are 1/4 sheet, so they are 11 inches by 15 inches. You can see that it actually ends up a little bit smaller because I stretch my paper. So they all have this little white border on them from stretching the paper. This is one that I had done with Dundas Valley School of Art with their intermediate level. And this was a kind of a fun Zoom workshop that I did with, I was in a fabric store, and I just saw these buttons and I loved all the colors and shapes and everything. So I just took a picture of all these tubes of buttons that had these buttons attached to the end. You know, just more of almost an abstract in this case. This was a Zoom workshop, I think. I believe that's a Zoom workshop, yes. And more glass. This was with Oakville. I had done this. This is one of my other Zoom workshops. Definitely more detail in this one. This was a pretty long video. Yeah, this was fairly long. This one, I can't remember if it was 2 parts or not. It might have been. There was a lot involved there. And another Zoom workshop. This carousel from pre-COVID days. And this is another workshop. I was taking an otherwise gray, boring statue and injecting lots of color into this to make it a little more lively. I was amused by this bird sitting on this guy's head. I can only imagine how much poop he's got in his hair. This was another Zoom workshop. This was just a little vignette of a display in an antique store. I asked if I could take a picture, and they said sure. So that, and in another store, I asked if I could take a picture, and they accommodated me, and I painted the glass that was sitting in the window, and I loved these glass pumpkins. This was one I did. I think I did it in the fall around Halloween, but this was another one. Textures, you know, getting all the softness in there. And this guy, he's not soft at all. He's got all this hairy stuff on him. And more fabrics. You have to turn my pile around again. More fabrics piled up. Actually, it's kind of laundry. So laundry, but you know, each one of these shapes has a form, right? And they have a pattern and a form. So they are rounded. So you know, this one with the polka dots looked like it's tucked in underneath, and then it comes out and it rolls and it tucks in again. And so, you know, I talk about how to conquer all of these dilemmas. Look at this nice reflected light up in here. And with glass, I love trying to recreate different challenges. Like in this case, it was shiny glass. Now I have this glass, but it's actually green. But I didn't want green and green. I wanted something to complement. So I ended up changing this glass from a green glass to red. And then this one, which has that iridescence to it. And I did not use any iridescent paint. You can get iridescent medium. You can get metallic paints. And I often get asked, well, did you use metallic paint up there? Nope. It's all created with my regular watercolors. This was another challenge where this is a jug that my late aunt gave me, and it's got this kind of mirrory, like absolutely mirror type of pattern on it. And look here in the mirror pattern, you can see the reflection of the lace. You know, this lace is reflecting in the bottom of the jug. That type of thing. This is a white bowl, but it's got a lot of color in it. You know, and I talk about why I do a lot of these things in my Zoom workshops. If you haven't ever attended one of my Zoom workshops or one of my in-person workshops, I do go into a lot more depth in terms of why I'm doing certain things. And this was another Zoom workshop where this was actually in a lighthouse museum, I believe, and they just, you know, they were illustrating where the lighthouse keeper would be having their dinner, and it was set up like this. I think it was in a lighthouse museum. It might have been just in a regular museum, but I just loved this place setting, and the light was kind of coming through the window, and you know, you really don't even see some of the edges on this thing in the back here that's sitting on the ledge, but yet you see a lot more detail in what's in the foreground. So things like that, you know, I'll really cover that type of thing in my Zoom workshops. And again, this is a little bit like that statue that I did. This was just gray. It's concrete. How interesting is that? But I love the pattern of this, and I wanted to create the three-dimensionality of this, you know, to make it look like you could touch it, like it actually has texture. And, you know, I love taking a challenge like that and trying to do that. And I thought, I need a little bit more masculine subject matter. So I decided to do this Ford Mustang, obviously, which has this, you know, all this chrome. It's got shine on the hood, but this grill, which is a very subtle part of this painting, but boy, it took me a long time. But this was one of my Zoom workshops as well, and this was another Wednesday. No, I did this with one of my classes. One of my in-person classes, doing shiny again. I actually have these ornaments. This was one of my Zoom workshops, and there's that, I pointed out that vase in my other painting, and I changed it to red. This is the vase in its actual color, because I had another red object here. The concrete painting workshop. This one here was a Zoom workshop, I believe. Yes, this was a Zoom workshop. Pretty sure. I have now, I think 3 pages of Zoom workshops. Ones that are coming up, and 2 pages of past ones that I've done. And, you know, you'll have to scroll down to see all the different workshops that I've been doing since COVID. And all of this, you know, all of this stuff that I'm showing you today, this has all been done since COVID, except for the 2 that I tossed over my shoulder there. This was part of my shiny glass presentation with Oakville. More glass. You see a theme here? Lots of glass. I have lots and lots of glass. But like I said, I always try to mix it up. I like this one because it's got these vertical lines, and I like this one because it has changing colors and crackled glass and things like that. So I try to always mix it up and challenge myself a little bit more. This was another Zoom workshop, painting a lot of clear glass stacked on more clear glass, and dealing with all the complexity and the reflections of that, and how to sort that out and get your head wrapped around it. So that's what that one's about. This was another one on textures. These were some old buckets that were in a museum display that we did. So lots of coarse texture there. And this was from my old things workshop. So teacups, grandma's teacups and figurines are almost gone by the wayside now, you can't give them away, unfortunately. People just aren't collecting them anymore, but we all have grandmas, right? So I wanted to put mine in a painting. This was a Zoom workshop that I had done. It was a candle sitting in amongst a decorative wreath, and had all these pine cones and these shiny berries. It was pretty. A little bit of plaid in here, pine needles, like lots of, sometimes you look at something at a glance and you think, oh, there's not much to it. And then you look and you think, yeah, how would I go about painting that? It could be complicated. So like each one of these has to be painted like an individual little player, right? So it does get quite involved sometimes. This was another Zoom workshop that I had done. Lots of these tree roots coming out of the woods. How do you create the feeling of depth and light, and lots of foliage without painting every single leaf, and that type of thing. Getting the texture of bark, leaves on the ground, lots of challenges. This one's an Inukshuk. Actually, this is a sculpture that is in Collingwood, Ontario, and it's called Sunset Park. And they have this wonderful Inukshuk sculpture. And when I took the reference picture for this, I was able to get this great sky and everything else, and the beautiful light on the Inukshuk, which is just concrete or stone. And I went back to visit it a couple of years ago, and they've planted trees all around it, so you can't take this picture anymore. So that was, I'm glad I took it, because now it's going to have all these big trees growing around it. Here's another Zoom workshop, really creating some high detail in the canoe and very little detail in the back, but just enough to suggest that there's another shore and there's some mist on the water and it's autumn, and really sort of set the mood. This was just one that I had done in one of the conventions. They have paint-alongs, so I had done this one from a reference photo that they had posted, and I painted along. This is one of my, what was the theme for this one? I'm trying to think. This was with my Wednesday Royal Botanical Gardens group. We had done, I forget what the theme was. But anyway, that was with that group. I did some more bubbles. Creating all the reflections in these bubbles. But not only reflections, look at the perspective that's happening here. How do you do bubbles on top of bubbles on top of bubbles? Well, you can obviously have one in front, cutting off the one behind. But then there's some that are going to be like blurry. Like, look how blurry this one is. It's farther away, right? So you create that illusion and more of the vignette, the bokeh background, and all the reflection that happens within a bubble. And this is a lot like that first little one. This actually is the same little guy. This was doing figures, I think. I was illustrating that. This was, I don't know if it's a workshop, if one of my Zoom workshops or not. You'll have to go look because I can't even remember. But he was so cute, sitting there just playing on the beach. Dad was watching. This was not a Zoom workshop. This was actually a pre-COVID one. I'm going to set this one aside. This is really nice. This was actually a workshop I had done with Ona Kingdon. I had invited her to come and demonstrate, and this was the painting I did there. But this is one of my Zoom workshops. So I've eliminated 3 there. This is one of my Zoom workshops. I really wanted to capture the feeling of light coming in here. You'll notice that the feeling of light in my paintings is a pretty common theme. And again, this was doing figures with Oakville, and this was actually a very quick demonstration. This took me about an hour to do, and maybe not even that long. I can't even remember, but it was very immediate, no masking, just immediate painting in, don't worry about a background, just get the essentials in kind of thing. Oh, and this was one of my Santas that I did with Oakville, and wanted to really get this texture for the fur and the velvet on his hat and the texture of his beard, and there was so many textures in here that were just awesome. And you'll notice this bokeh background has a lot of color in it, so we covered a lot of ground on this particular project here. Facial details, skin tones, lots of things like that, and he was a fun one to do. This is one of my Zoom workshops, and it has this lacy hat, and the hat's one of the most interesting things here. But it's got the pattern on her bathing suit, skin tones. But this is interesting here on her face is the light coming through the hat and the abstract patterns that it makes on her skin. She was just sitting there reading a book, and I just loved the light, and I loved the hat, and so careful when you go out in public. I might take your picture and paint you. But this is another Zoom workshop. I had a redhead in this case, but she's got this sort of puffy fall jacket, a sweatshirt underneath, the skin tones, the hair. Red hair can be sometimes hard to portray in watercolor. And this is another one from my portraits. This was with Oakville. This was a portrait series that I had done, and we gave this guy a name. I forget what we called him. But we ended up naming this guy. We named all our portraits, and so this is. I can't remember what we called it. It'll come to me at 2 o'clock in the morning. All right, so loosening up. Just because you're doing a portrait does not mean that it has to be highly realistic. This is pretty realistic. I mean, I've got kind of realistic looking eyes, but that hair is just kind of wild, and this background's pretty loose, isn't it? So, like I said, I like mixing it up. This is also... This is an exercise that I did that basically takes, and I'll tell you about this because this one's quite an interesting exercise, and it's something I recommend you try one time. Take a photo and get it painted. Keep the right values, you know, details and things like that. But painted all the wrong colors. And the exercise here was to not paint her skin colors, skin tones. Not do her hair, the color of her hair. The way that we, you know, she's got green in her hair, and she's got, you know, yellow and blue, and she's got, you know, green and yellow and pink in her skin. None of which are the right colors. But the idea of this whole lesson was to illustrate how, you know, how you can mix up and change all the colors and still it looks like it's supposed to. Interesting experiment. I did this with another painting, and I showed it to my class. And I said, what do you see about this painting? That's, you know, what do you see that's a little bit out of the ordinary? And I got everything from, well, the perspective on the horizon is not quite right, or maybe it needs flowers here, or a person walking, it should have that, or, you know, and I got all these ideas, and not one single person. I've asked about 100 people now in various classes. I've asked them, and not one single person said, oh, the colors are all wrong. Amazing, an amazing social experiment that I did there, you know, just showing them the painting, and nobody identified that the colors were wrong. It's more obvious in a portrait. Okay, this was a landscape, and I had done all the wrong colors. My trees were purple. Oh, yes, I did this during COVID, and yes, it's me. I almost wore this shirt today too. But yeah, it's a self-portrait that I had done, just goofing around. Another portrait, again, with this lacy hat. This one I did with Oakville. And we did this lady, and she has all this fabric and this nice out-of-focus background, which you see complements her clothing very nicely. And yeah, that was fun, doing all that texture. This was another one that I had done, a portrait in Oakville. I had done this one. And getting those nice soft skin tones for a child. Doing a child is quite different than doing an adult. We have some birds. I'm getting close to the end of my pile here. I'll be done soon. I didn't think it would take me this long to get through it all. Thanks for joining, David. So this is birds. I'll speed things up maybe a little bit here. Getting some fur textures. Some grasses here, some foliage, you know, lots of challenges here. This, I think that's a Zoom workshop. I believe it is. This was not a Zoom workshop or anything. This was just one that I was playing around with. Snow falling on a horse who's just kind of looking. This is the back end of the horse, and this is, you know, the face, of course. And another horse I've got. This one, I was trying to create the illusion of motion. This horse was running along, and really part of this show at the fair. This is my grand dog. This is also a Zoom workshop, creating the fabric texture, creating this blurry background, and of course the textures in the face and the eyes and so on. Another critter with this interesting rock and the foliage in the background, and our little chipmunk, of course. Woodpecker. This is a downy woodpecker. We have tons of them here. This was one of my Zoom, or not my Zoom workshops. This was one of my Wednesday demos. I must have done it at Christmas time. It's actually got glitter in it, so I was probably had it in my studio when I was wrapping or opening cards or something. I've still got glitter from Christmas. And this is one of my Zoom workshops. creating white and lost edges, and I painted a white bird on white paper, and you can actually see it. It's not not like the polar bear in a snowstorm syndrome where you can't see it. It's this is a study on doing water reflections. Another Zoom workshop, creating illuminated branches against a lake, and lots of these tree roots that are coming down, describing in that simplified background. This one, you saw me post this just recently. This is the Chateau Laurier in Ottawa. At night it illuminates. They put lights on it, and dusk, it was just starting to fall. So you get the this beautiful lighting on this beautiful old building. Yeah, so when I look at it like this, I'm like, how could I have possibly painted all this during COVID? But I did, and yeah, so I'm sharing all this with you. All of these paintings are available, and either the paintings themselves or the workshops. And this, of course, was light streaming through trees, creating that effect. Mist, creating that mist and the water. Very simplified in this background here. More light coming through trees. And skies, northern lights. How beautiful are they? We were creating this illusion. This was with that, and we've got this lovely path in this birch grove. This is a Zoom workshop. This is Bark Lake, place up in Ontario, near in the Haliburton region. This was a getaway before COVID, long before, the year before COVID, I guess. But kind of wish I was there now. Sand and the surf. Again, you've got this foam here, and this breaking wave, right? Trying to create that illusion. And in painting old things, we had this very abandoned old house. This was in Newfoundland, actually. So created all the textures in there, and the textures in the foreground, and the dull grayness of this old building against the new growth. A little bit of a message there. This is again, more textures. We've got all the textures in this building. We've got this car, shiny texture against all this sort of rustic old building. That's Cuba, you can tell. And nocturnal, okay, getting some of these night images here. How to create those and that glow around the moon. Creating the look of a wave. These are all kind of in random order at this point. And another moonscape where we have this sort of glow around the moon and the reflection in the water and the mountains behind. Yeah, there's a lot here. This is another one of my Zoom workshops that I did recently. Let's flip this around. Okay, so we have these boats. This is actually a harbor right close to me, and this boat, I see it all the time. It's kind of everybody in my town recognizes this one. But that was one of my Zoom workshops. And we have this one here. I can't remember if that's a Zoom workshop or not. But this is Waterfall in Hamilton. Hamilton's the city next door to us. And they actually have the most waterfalls per mile, I think it is, per square mile, than anywhere else in the world. Now that doesn't mean that they're huge waterfalls or that they're active waterfalls all season, because sometimes they dry up during the summertime, but in terms of number of waterfalls, they have more waterfalls per square mile than anywhere else in the world. Yeah, yes. Well, actually, you know what? I bought a ton of watercolor paper. Like I had quite a pile of it. I'm getting through it though. It's almost gone. This was Greece, obviously. Nice sunny day in Greece. This was another Zoom workshop, creating that beautiful vista across the water where it, you can't even tell where the water meets the sky here. That morning mood. Another Greek scene showing lots and lots of texture in this rock. And I like how it frames this little vignette in the window. This one actually is pre-COVID as well, but I'll just, I'll talk about this one. This is obviously water, and I was trying to show how reflections on water affect what you see below water and that sort of thing. This was actually a workshop I had done in Toronto, so that was before COVID. This is also a COVID painting, and this is local. This is a very local scene for me, very familiar to anybody in the GTA, the Greater Toronto area. This is more mist. Creating all these layers, and I talk about how to do this. This is a pre-COVID painting. Sorry, I whipped that away before showing it to you, but there it is. This is a one I did before COVID. I've got a couple in there that actually don't belong, but these ones are all the rest are all COVID paintings. This is a Zoom workshop that I had done, another glass study, as you can see. Another floral. It's another Zoom workshop. Pearls and lace and wood. There's lots of textures in this one. This is another Zoom workshop. And yet another. This is a winter scene, obviously, in a country, a house in the country. And we have finally come to the end of my online art show, I guess it is. And so I did eliminate about 4 paintings. But yeah, this stack is all COVID paintings. Hard to believe. And yeah, and I'm still cranking them out. Now, some of the paintings I have actually sold, and some are larger. Like you can see over my shoulder here, this one on the shelf, that's a full sheet. The one beside that, right here, right there, that one is also, one that I did the last couple of weeks ago, and yeah, you can probably see them a little better here. They're not in focus, but this painting and this painting have been done since COVID, and a couple of others that are larger that really I can't show too easily on screen. So that's what I did. And so I hope you've been able to find some peace in painting during COVID. We're coming to the end of it. Never thought we would ever get to the end of it. It felt like it at times. And I hope you've been keeping your brushes wet and staying out of trouble. I enjoy watercolor so much, and I don't mind one bit sharing with you guys. You've actually helped me more than you know. You may think I'm helping you, but you're actually helping me. You're helping me learn new skills. You're helping me become more comfortable being online, which, I sure wasn't when I first started. Oh, it was embarrassing. But yeah, and you can see in some of my earlier videos, you can tell it's the start of my journey. Maybe the camera angles aren't good, or the light's not good, or the I was using older equipment at the time, but I have upgraded everything. I've practiced, and I feel like I got more out of COVID than a lot of people did. People lost jobs. People had a lot of hardships, but doing what you have to do during the pandemic to keep going is essential. And so, of course, now the pandemic's winding down and the world's still having problems, and we won't get into that. But stay positive, keep your brushes wet, and thank you so much for joining me this week and every week. And give me a like, give me a subscribe, whatever you would like to do. I appreciate every bit. Thank you so much. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.